All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the SPED Mamas Group Chat. This whole thing started because there are real conversations that are happening in the parking lot, as you're running into some of your mom friends or dad friends, a drop off and pick up. It's about everything. It's about school. It's about parenting. Sometimes, in relation to what we do, it's about special education. They happen in texts. They happen in the DMs, in the group chats, between parents like us who are actually living some of the challenges and some of the wins, even that come along with having kiddos that think differently and need some, kind of unique things. So I'm Jen. I'm an educator, parent, and co-founder of SPED Mamas.
I am Jordan. I am also educator, mom, also co-founder and owner with Jen and SPED Mamas. And I'm just that friend who will keep it really honest and real with you guys. So we're bringing those conversations from our group chat to yours, those ones about, like Jen was saying, school, life, and all that chaos in between. You're also going to see us keeping it real and laughing with you and all of our quirks along the way. But I think this is just a really good opportunity to have those conversations so you guys can see us and also engage with us as well on a lot of these hot topic items.
Yes, hot topics. And so each week we're working on each week. We're going to be bringing you one of those sort of real group chat moments and topics that maybe we've experienced or that some of our parents or clients that we've worked with have talked to us about. Sometimes it may even come from an educator standpoint as well. So we're going to talk to you guys about those things, kind of throw it out there, tell you what we think, see what you think. And a lot of times it may wrap around to the full topic of special education. Sometimes it may be more broad education in general, some of the innovations that are out there, and do we actually think this is going to help our kiddos out? So we want to kind of spread out the information, and very much like it would happen in that group chat. Hey girl, did you hear about this? That's what we would like for this to be like. So thank you guys for joining us and checking this out. Now, this week's topic, it's a doozy. It is love and war. So, this topic came up because we were talking about how, with advocacy, at its core, at the root, where does it come from? It's always coming from love. Even as if you're coming from that educator standpoint, we know that it's coming from that love that you have for your child. If it's the parent standpoint, absolutely, it's coming from this love for this child. Sometimes we have grandparents that are doing this work as well. So it comes from a really good place. And we love our kids. We want them to have everything that they need to thrive. But somewhere along the line, that love starts to feel a little bit more like defense as we are preparing every email and preparing for every meeting and the documents and the background information that we're preparing to share to make sure that we do get our kids set up for success in that school year. And sometimes you really have to kind of brace for that. So that can be really exhausting.
Yeah, and I actually think that when we're talking about coming from love or war, like sometimes we feel like we're gearing up for that sort of battle. As a parent, you have to have all your ducks in a row. You have to understand all the terminology, all the right questions to ask. And that's something that I think we get asked a lot with our clients are what are the questions we should be asking? What specifically do I need to understand so that I can be a part of that team and provide input? But in addition to that, feeling like the us against them. And it can feel that way too as educators. And I think that comes from a place of sort of ego. And I'm saying this from my standpoint too, right? Like if someone's coming in with an advocate or someone's coming in with a support person to help guide through that conversation or that meeting, as an educator, I remember feeling like, why are they bringing somebody to help them? Why are they help supporting? Why do they need that? We're here. And not recognizing sort of why that parent is doing that in the first place, and just kind of recognizing there's a lot of reasons for that. And for instance, teachers have high caseloads. I mean, I remember having 28 plus kids on my caseload and juggling all of that, and that's really hard, right, when you're trying to do your absolute best and also make sure that parents feel supported and heard and understood. And so I don't know what you think about that, Jen, but I think a lot of it for the educator standpoint of that war piece can come from why do they need to be bringing somebody in?
Do they not trust me? Right.
Yes.
I love their child. Maybe I've seen them come through our school with their whole family, several siblings, like I love this family. It gets even trickier also when we consider like the involvement of that family, like these small communities where we have that parent that is always helping and always volunteering. And just imagine if you are the parent that for years even you've been coming and supporting and just the smiling face in the hallway, and then now all of a sudden when there's something going on with your kiddo, you have to wear a little bit of a different hat. And sometimes it can be uncomfortable because you just want to keep it nice and chill and hey, and got cupcakes or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, the data,
Yeah.
or
Or how did you come up with that? Yeah. Like I need to understand a little bit clearer. And you're also best friends or go to the same church or whatever it may be on the side, which can be really kind of an awkward encounter. But yeah, so going back to that, I can have that same feeling of like, what did we do wrong that they're bringing somebody in? And I wish we would switch it to what can we do better so that that communication is stronger. And so and that parents feel a little bit more involved and that equal participants. Even if there was a liaison, like I wish looking back that school districts provided liaisons to kind of support that in between, almost like a third party, right? Acting in the best interest of the parent, but kind of supporting that, communication. I know on the flip side, I can hear educators probably say, well, that's your job. That's what you should be doing. But kind of flipping it back to, some teachers have so much on their plate and they're required, it really, kind of depends and varies amongst the states, but some are required to do initial triennial assessments and write the reports, as well as, completing the whole IEP, the caseload part of it, as well as the teaching. And so when you're thinking from that aspect, that's a lot kind of to deal with as an educator.
It is. And I think for me as a parent, I and as an educator, right, I want for the trust to be respected on both ends. I want the energy to be respected on both ends. Like I would always kind of be pretty understandable about the energy that my parents kind of came with, because I am understanding that love aspect. So even when it gets a little pushy, a little testy in the moment in terms of that parent and the persistence maybe, and even if things get a little bit tense in certain moments, I'm always trying to keep in mind that love that they have for that child, and that they really don't mean to lose that collaborative sort of vibe that we have. So as an educator, I've always tried to make sure that I am, just open to that. It's a very emotional experience. As an educator, I go through it over and over and over every month, but this is a parent that is experiencing this sometimes for the first time and sometimes once a year, and they kind of dread that this is the moment that's coming up. So I try to be grounded in that. But yeah, even still as a parent, you feel that you need to armor up, and saying that word specifically because we are talking about war here. You're armoring up, you're getting all of the information. It's actually part of the requirement. So I think it's just a little bit, if you're not very conscious about the energy that you're bringing to it, it's kind of an easy and slippery slope to go from armoring up because it's part of the job of that parent in the moment to be prepared, but not armoring up to, blame and argue and point fingers and so forth. That collaboration is just always going to be sort of top of mind for me. So what do you think about that, Jordan?
Yeah, I think I was really kind of honing in on, coming back to that trust and love piece. Like we're both coming from that same angle, right? As a parent, I want what's best for my kid completely. And I want to make sure that I understand the plan and I'm a part of it. As an educator, I want to make sure the parent understands where I'm coming from and the data I used to come up with those goals, which drive services, right? And so I want them to feel comfortable. And if not, I want that to be a back and forth conversation. Okay, so if this doesn't sound good, let's talk about the other options on the table. Okay, so you're wanting more support in the classroom during math. Okay, how can we provide that? Or how can we test if that's needed? Kind of having those conversations. So maybe nothing is set in stone in that, that specific meeting, but kind of going over the different options and saying, can we come back to the table and see if that's necessary based on actual, data. And so I think that's the big piece is, trusting each other, not thinking, or remembering, I should say, that the parent does know their child best. So that's the first thing. The parent knows their child best. The educator, yes, is a specialist. They know the interventions and everything that they could possibly add to the plan in the sense better. But how can we come together and provide that like strength-based IEP using all that information that we have and, having those conversations to make that better. That's where I really think is sometimes when, as educators, I'm like flipping hats constantly here.
I know, me too.
It's so hard. But as an educator, sometimes, the questions, again, it's coming from ego. I really think that's what it is. Like, why are they asking the questions? And so then saying, instead of saying, why are they asking the questions, instead saying, how can I support so that the parent understands fully? And then how can I make sure that I understand that this is, how the parent is feeling, the empathy piece to like wrap around there. And so I think that at the end of the day, it's how can we create an environment where conversations and questions are okay. And then before the parent even comes to that meeting, that they are well equipped. They have all the information. They have draft, documents in advance. Maybe you even sit down and have like a starter conversation for those that have the time. Like that's in a perfect world, but minimally providing that information, even like needs assessments to parents, like how can we support you better in the future? Coming back, hey, that went really well, but I still feel like, I still feel like I could have supported you a bit better in that process. What could I have done to make you feel like you're not blindsided in the process? That's what we hear a lot, right?
And as a parent, I would love that because I would want it to be acknowledged that I'm not like every other family. And maybe, it can be simple things, text over email sometimes. I know some things have to go through email, but, communications every week versus, a month. Like some parents actually, believe it or not, don't want to be contacted every single week. So the acknowledgement of how do you want to be communicated with, and not just in the formality of follow up, on the actual IEP document, but, what's your preference? Morning, evening, dad, mom, how can we work best together? So I think the big idea here, guys, is that to think that it is, really strange to have these feelings that sometimes these processes feel like love and sometimes it feels like war. It's not weird. A lot of families experience the same thing. So I think part of our conversation today and some of the texts that go back and forth is, to try to be understanding of what the other person may be feeling, that age-old saying of putting yourself in the other person's shoes, the professional, the teacher that typically really loves your child, right? The parent that very much cares about their child's well-being and how both of those individuals may be coming to the table. At the end of the day, wanting the best for the child and understanding that only way to get there is with some collaboration. So yes, the feelings are normal, but it's kind of going to boil down to, well, what do we kind of do about that to make sure that as much as possible, we really stay on that love end of things. So we really want to know, as an advocate for your children, what does that feel like for you? Does it feel more like love? Does it feel more like war these days? What's happening? And we really want to hear what you guys think. So drop it in the chat, maybe send this link to a friend, discuss it, let us know, DM us, email us, whatever you guys think. We're dying to know kind of where you guys are landing with this topic as well. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Yes, let us know, please. We'd love to hear from you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.